Now, as master of the obvious, I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that airports are pretty important to pilots. So you'll want to know what an airport looks like on a sectional chart. But before we go to the chart, let's take a look at the legend. That way, if you have any questions, you'll know where to go for the answers. This legend is located on the front of every chart. Now let's take a look at this chart. Let's start off by looking at Pierce Ferry Airport. Here it is right here. You'll notice this little magenta circle. That is the basic symbol for an airport. Now if we go over to Tassie Airport, you'll notice there is a magenta circle around the airport, but this time there is an R inside this magenta circle. That R tells you that the airport is private or restricted, and that simply means that somebody owns the airport. You're going to have to get permission before you land there. Now, let's take a look at Echo Bay Airport. Here it is flying in right now. Now, Echo Bay has a magenta circle, but this time they've added another symbol, and that is the symbol for a hard surface runway of at least 1,500 feet in length. That symbol also shows you roughly what direction the runway points. In this case, it's pointing northeast, southwest, say maybe runway 6 and runway 24. Now let's take a look at Canab Airport. And you can see that Canab Airport also has a hard surface runway of at least 1,500 feet in length, but it's pointed roughly north-south. This time maybe runway 1 and runway 19er. You can also see by the depiction that it is longer than Echo Bay. See how it fills up more of the circle this time? But we have a new wrinkle here. There are tick marks on the top, bottom, and sides of the airport symbol. What do those tick marks tell you? It tells you the guy that wrote the chart went outside the lines. No. What it tells you is that the airport is supposed to have fuel. And the reason I say supposed to is that the fuel could always be out of fuel. They could have been closed for the day, something of that sort. Let's move to another chart and take a look at Freedman Memorial. Notice that the airport symbol is blue, not magenta. What does that mean? Well, the blue tells you that they have a control tower. And this CT in the letter and numbers over here also indicates a control tower. And the frequency here tells you the frequency at which you will communicate with that control tower. In this case, it's 125.6. Now that little star tells you that the operation of the control tower is not continuous. So it's not open 24 hours. It's not Denny's control tower. To find out the operating hours, you look at the legend on the chart or in an airport facility directory. In this case, we'll look at the control tower frequencies legend on the chart. And here it shows that the tower, here's Freedman Memorial, is in operation between the hours of 0700 and 2300. And this is in local time, as it says right here. Hours shown are local time. Now, if we go back to the chart, the star above the airport symbol means that they have a rotating beacon. A rotating beacon is a light that sits on top of a tall tower, and it rotates around, and it helps you find the airport at night. We'll talk more about what it looks like when we talk about night flying. Now, like I said earlier, when an airport has a control tower, you can tell by the airport symbol being blue and the CT being with the frequency. Let's confirm that. Let's look at this chart. Here is Pocatello Regional Airport. Now, what is the frequency for the control tower at Pocatello Regional? Well, right here it says CT and it says 119.1. Now, you're probably saying, boy, they must have some long runways at Pocatello Regional. Look how big the symbol is. And you're right. You'll notice that there's no longer even a circle, but just a depiction of the runways. And they do this when the longest runway is over 8,069 feet long. That's when they start depicting them rather than putting them in a circle. Now, what's the elevation of this airport? The elevation is shown right here. And the elevation is 4,449 feet. Now, is the elevation given above ground level or above sea level? Let me ask you a question. Is this airport located on the ground or above the ground? Well, of course, this airport is located on the ground. So this elevation can't be above ground level. By the way, the abbreviation for above ground level is AGL. The airport is located 4,449 feet above sea level. And for this, you use the abbreviation MSL, and it stands for mean or average sea level. So the elevation of this airport is 4,449 feet MSL. Now, if you continue across, this next symbol is for lighting. As we see in the legend, L stands for lighting in operation sunset to sunrise. If it has an asterisk, like this one does, it means the lights are not on all night, and we must refer to the airport facility directory to find out how to turn them on or find out when they are on. The next item is the length of the longest runway in hundreds of feet. In this case, it's 9,000 feet at Pocatello Regional. And the last item, a radio frequency, we've already talked about. It's the Unicom frequency. You could use that frequency to call the fixed base operator for fuel. Now remember, most of this information is in the legend. So if you see something on the chart and you have a question about it, all you have to do is go back to the legend. Heck, you paid for the whole chart, go ahead and use it.